Doctor Who returned for I don't know how many series, but the big news here is
the
that
11th since Christopher Eccleston took over
of the new era.
Of the new era, it's series 11.
The 13th Doctor. Let's go with that.
Okay, played by Jodie Whittaker, a woman. This one also saw the introduction of a collection of companions. We think maybe.
Yeah.
There was, I think, Ryan was the main lad. Ryan Sinclair. There was an old classmate of his. Was it Jazz? Have I got that?
Yeah.
See, I'm doing the Gary now, and then there was.
I think it's something Ahmed. Was it Jez Ahmed or something?
And then there was Bradley Walsh.
Yeah.
Graham. It's all set in Sheffield this time, which is another.
Yeah, they've moved from Wales. They've moved from Cardiff to Sheffield.
And there was the same old stuff with aliens coming down. Tim Shaw was the main bad guy, which I
quite funny.
The sort of main impetus was the Doctor trying to remember her name after the TARDIS crashed, or she fell out of the TARDIS, didn't she?
Yeah, she fell to Earth from the TARDIS.
Hence the episode being called "The Woman Who Fell to Earth."
Absolutely.
Could you explain the plot better than I can?
The plot was an alien race, in order to find a new leader, set a task of sending a scout ahead to nominate a human being that the alien would have to kill. So there were two aliens. One was a scout, the other was the killer, and the idea was that human life is worth nothing, and they were just there to be shot at. And you got a scene where someone previously who'd been targeted, their sister had been a target, and he had spent his whole life trying to find these aliens, sort of like to sort of gain some sort of insight or revenge. But it turns out to just be, alien sport. And it fits in quite nicely with the idea of the Doctor being the protector of the humans. It reminds you of that kind of number one priority of the Doctor, that human life is worth protecting.
Just for me personally, not to get on my sort of soapbox or get a bit mushy, but the character Ryan had dyspraxia, which is something that I suffer from as well. And I think in terms of representation, it's not something you really see very much discussed on.
Can you offer some insight as to why he can't ride a bike? I didn't quite get that.
It's a sort of motor neuron type disease, so it affects hand-eye coordination and like writing and things like it. It's like dyslexia, but with sort of we're trying to think of the word now. Like
you also struggle to explain things when you've got it as well. I think.
Thanks, Luke. But yeah, the bike, because you have like poor motor skills. That's basically
so you can't do the whole sort of pedaling and
it is just off the top of my head. It's a developmental disorder of the brain in childhood that causes difficulties in activities requiring coordination and movement. I mean, I could look it up.
What I was saying.
I could look it up.
Prepared, Luke. Well done.
Yeah.
But when
I could look it up, but that's my general understanding.
Luke, go away. This is Doctor Who. You're not talking. You don't really see this very much, and I know a lot of people were talking about the representation of the Doctor and having a female Doctor, and there was a lot more younger girls watching it this time. But for me personally, I think that was a good thing for Chris Chibnall to put in, because it's explaining sort of what it is, even though the bike riding at whatever he is, like 20. My family were still trying to get me to ride a bike at 20.
Was Phoebe from Friends dyspraxic because she couldn't ride a bike?
They never said anything.
Until Ross bought her one.
And she couldn't run either in that episode with
That's very true.
With Rachel.
We've just medically uncovered something there.
And she couldn't play a guitar.
Well, that's up for debate.
The big question is, what did we think of Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor?
I thought she was brilliant. I don't think that they've done a particularly great job in this first episode of setting everything up. There's a very similar pattern that you have to follow when the Doctor regenerates. It's happened a number of times. You have to have that moment where, as you say, the Doctor in the regeneration pattern has to have their memories and everything come back to them, and the new uniform. And I think they did that quite well. But I think there was quite a lot of explanation and exposition that was kind of rushed over. I didn't like the fact that everybody just accepted the fact, oh yeah, there's aliens on the planet. You've got to base it a little bit more on realism at times. I know it's a science fiction program.
It's a kids show.
It's a kids show, but in order for things to become believable later on, you have to lay the groundwork of the companion being dubious to start with. I think saying Jenna Coleman did it very well. I think Amy Pond, whatever her name was in real life, Karen Gillan did it really well. I don't think any of these showed me that they're going to be brilliant companions. Didn't really like much of their dialogue or acting. I did like the slightly more cinematic feel to the program. I definitely think that Chris Chibnall has had some decision to make the show look a bit more like a movie. And I think some of the dialogue was a little bit smarter. The overall look and feel of the program was a little bit smarter, more up to date. I do think Jodie Whittaker was very good and very believable, very relatable and funny. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, and this was much better than the Peter Capaldi first episode, yes. I thought. I mean, I think it helps that everybody is new. I love the fact that she got her clothes from a charity shop at the end. I think that was a nice little touch as well. Yeah,
I like the Sheffield Steel stuff. I know it's corny, but I liked it.
Because you're the big Doctor Who fan.
Yes, I am.
Luke doesn't watch it at all, and I'm somewhere in the middle. And I enjoyed this. I thought it was well paced. I thought it was a little bit long. It was just over an hour.
Yeah.
I think Jodie Whittaker makes a great Doctor. I don't think anyone is sort of complaining after the fact of seeing her. I think the two younger companions are a little bit generic, and trying to believe that they're 19 is a bit of a stretch. And Bradley Walsh is Bradley Walsh. It's a shame they killed off Sharon D. Clarke, because I really like her as an actress.
I know. A lot of people were suggesting that they should have had her rather than him.
Yeah.
I don't really understand what his role is going to be. The sort of the older style Doctor Who had 2 or 3 companions. The very first Doctor had 3, one of which was Peter Purvis, which is why a lot of people are sort of thinking, well, is that what they're trying to do with Bradley Walsh?
We need to move on now.
No, we're still talking. Shut up.
But
the last series you did have Bill and Nardole in the last series, didn't you?
Yeah, and you've had you had
Amy and Rory.
I like the fact that we haven't yet found the TARDIS. I do think that's quite a nice thing, that she didn't have a sonic screwdriver at the start. I like those little things. They are nods to previous series, nods to the history of Doctor Who that I really like, that I think Chris Chibnall is going to pay attention to.